Line's good.
Never on!
Whoa.
Hard! Release!
Come on, Brent.
Line's good.
Got real close.
I hear high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, hi. Something cool happened to me today. You want to hear about it?
Absolutely, I do.
I was putting our garbage out on the road and met our new neighbor, who happens to be Craig, that we play softball with. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah, I didn't tell you this before we started. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow. So where does Craig live?
In the other half of our duplex.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. They just moved in like a week ago. So
Huh.
it was very, very like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Anyway.
What are you doing here? Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, neighbors with Craig. There you go. Now you'll find out if he's actually a good guy. We think he is.
Yeah.
You never know.
Oh, I'm sure. So yeah, it'll be nice to have somebody close by that I can text. Hey, can you pick up that package? Or
Yeah, that's right.
can you put out our garbage for us if we're not here? So
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure Craig will be thrilled to know that he is there as your errand boy.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
That's all you see him as.
Well, and us for them.
Well, there you go. And Scott, I assume you're out taking the trash out in between draws here on this final day of the 2023 Tim Hortons Brier. As we are recording this, there are games still ongoing in London, but I feel somewhat confident that we won't have to re-record this.
Yeah. But most things have been decided, Sean, and you have far too little faith in me. I was up well before the game started this morning, so that they're bright and early. But yeah, no, I was watching some of the games from today on a recording, and I texted you and I said I really want to talk about something, and you said, hey, let's just do this now, and good idea. So yeah. Most stuff has been,
let's tee it up.
Yeah,
let's tee it up, because we're going to talk about something that happened this morning in Pool B. So that's where we'll start. Those games are ongoing as we are recording this. Felix Asselin is going to win his game. He just scored 7 consecutive points. That game is over. I said to you, Scott, it should have been the feature game, because Jeremy Millay, Scott Jones, they just don't care. They're putting rocks in play. I love them. They have taken the Suzanne Burt role of just, you're never really out of a game and you're never really putting somebody else out of the game. They're just throwing crazy stuff. It seems like every time they flash over, there's 13 rocks in play. They have been a lot of fun on the updates. It would have been fun to have them as the feature tonight, but that game has gotten out of hand. Mike McEwen and Karsten Sturmey, who, by the way, this is apropos of absolutely nothing at all, but I couldn't stop looking at it once I noticed it. Karsten Sturmey's shoelaces are very, very long. Like, they're dragging on the ice when he's standing. I'm worried that he's going to trip. Like, this is point, I guess, I'm at in my life where I'm like, oh, I hope you don't fall. I'm very concerned for his safety and well-being. But they are playing in the latter part of the game, tied the last I looked at it. I have the game on pause
right now.
Okay, so I have the game on pause. We'll get the final later, and I'll just jump through the commercials. But we're going to work on the assumption of tiebreaker possible, but I'm leaning probably not. But we'll obviously have to see. So we are going to talk, though, about the game this morning. Brendan Boncher beat Felix Asselin to get first place in Pool B. Brad Gushu is going to finish second. He is going to beat Thomas Scoffin if that game hasn't gone final yet. And as a result, I think I said Botcher gets first place. That is incorrect. Canada, of course, gets first place by beating Thomas Scoffin. They will get the bye to the Friday Fun Fest. Botcher will be the 2 seed, and he will cross over and play Tanner Horgan from Northern Ontario in that 2-3 game. And then we'll see if there is a tiebreaker or not. But whether it's Mike McEwen, Felix Asselin, they will cross over. They will play Kevin Cooey as Matt Dunstone goes through unscathed, gets the direct bye to that Friday Fun Fest. But Scott, you want to talk about the game this morning between Boncher and Aslan, which, if it had gone the other way, would have made tonight's proceedings slightly more interesting, perhaps. And it was looking that way for a lot of the game. Felix Aslan, Team Quebec, they were playing great. They had a lead.
Yeah, they had a lead and probably should have kept it. So in the 8th end, they were playing with rocks around the 4-foot. Botcher ends up sitting 2 on his last, and they're sort of angled back 4-foot, top 8-foot, about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So, and Quebec has 2 other stones in the house. The way that the top Botcher rock sat, there was an opportunity for Felix Asselin to play like a slash double and use one of his rocks as a catcher on the side. And, if maybe it rolls all the way out when you catch on it, it bumps the other rock out, but maybe not. So in their mind, it was there for 3. What they talked about very briefly, and I think moved away from a little too quickly, Martin Kretz said, si on marque nos deux, c'est bon, là. But they didn't really talk about drawing to go up by 2.
They did not.
Like, they did, but breezed over it pretty quickly, mostly because Felix looked like he wanted to play the hit, right?
Yeah.
And, you talk a lot about deferring to what the skip wants to play. And they called a timeout, and Pierre Charette came out, and they were talking about what to do. So this is what I wanted to talk about, because yes, you play this shot. Maybe you get your 2 that way. Maybe you get your 3, but you're already up 1. It's the 8th end.
Yeah.
Score your point. My feeling, score your point, go up 2 with 2 ends to play. Sure, maybe Botcher can score 2 coming back. They're good at that, but then you're tied with Hammer in the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your feeling, Sean, on the right shot to play there, given the way the team had been playing and given who it was that was calling the shot?
Yeah, you're right, Scott. I do tend to be a believer in whatever the person thinks they're going to make is the best call, particularly at this level where the skip, in theory, is calling the game to their strength. They know what they want to get to. They know what they want to throw. And if they can get to that, let them throw it. Also in that situation, it wasn't just the shot for a multiple. If this was the first half of the game and you're up 1, maybe I feel slightly differently, because if he makes it, the game's over. It's a shot to win the game if he ends up making it. So I like that a little more when it's a shot that it was harder than a draw or tap. He would have had to tap the shot stone if he plays the soft one. I think if memory serves, I don't have it.
He had an open draw to the 4-foot.
Okay, my apologies.
On the intern side, yeah.
So it is a more difficult shot, but I don't think it's an exponentially more difficult shot that the risk reward balance is out of whack. If you look the other night on Tuesday, Reed Carruthers had one where he was trying to prevent Matt Dunstone from playing an angle run back maybe for 3, where he could have thrown a guard and Dunstone still has a very complicated shot for 2. Instead, he throws a extremely hard shot himself and ends up making the shot for Matt Dunstone, who has an open draw for 3. That's one where even if the skip sees it, I'm thinking the pro side of this make is not worth the risk given how challenging it is. As I was watching that one in real time this morning, I was thinking I wouldn't throw it. And if I was in the house, I would say, hey, situation, if we do this and we make it, we're in really good shape. But if the thrower says, hey, we got this, it's to win the game, let's do it. This other team is really good. Being up 2 certainly is no guarantee. Let's just make the shot. Then I am going to defer to that 99 times out of 100.
Okay. I think one thing that they never talked about was what if we miss, and is giving them 1 okay.
Sure.
I think it was implied, obviously through the decision that they took, but I think none of them vocalized that risk.
Right.
which in some cases is good, right? You don't want to be putting that seed of doubt if it's not there. And Felix just thought, hey, I'm going to make this shot, which is what you want from your skip, right? You want them saying, yeah, I'm just going to make it. But there was never a question of, is giving them one okay? Like, is it okay to be tied in the ninth? I think Pierre Charette maybe said, we'd be tied in the ninth with Hammer. Is that okay?
Right.
But to me, Felix was locked in. This is what I'm throwing. And for me, against a team like Brendan Botcher, I would rather take something sure. So that was just my thought. Your thought is not what I came to mind for me. Totally valid though. I can understand both sides. That's why I wanted to have this discussion about it.
Sure. Yeah, because really, if you think about it, you're like, you are going to win more often than not, even against a team as good as Brendan Botcher. Well, we wouldn't. It being up to with 2 ends to play, we probably still don't have good odds in that chance. But a team as good as Felix Asselin, even though yes, over the course of 100 games, they're not going to win a majority of them against Brendan Botcher, you wouldn't think. But in that situation, they are good enough that in most cases they are going to be able to hold on to it. But yeah, the flip side is, how many times do you have a shot, a makeable shot for someone of Felix Asselin's level and within what he prefers to throw, to win the game against Brendan Botcher? Like, how often do you have that opportunity where it's on your racket, if I can bring in a saying from another sport? And therefore, I don't hate it. I think I'd like it more if it's the ninth end.
I think so too. Yeah, because then okay, we're going to be tied with the Hammer, but it's the last end, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, then we shift to the ninth, and it seemed like that miss. So they missed. I guess we didn't say that.
He gave up
loud,
one.
But
He didn't flash it or anything, right?
No, that's right. That's right.
He still removed one of the stones, and he ends up giving up the steal one.
Yeah, he was tight out of his hand and didn't get all the way out, so it overcurled. So then in the ninth end, they're doing a good job keeping the stones spread out, but they're front and back of the house. A relatively simple hit for Felix, out-turn hit, just overcurls on him and ends up jamming it on his own stone at the back, leaving Botcher the opportunity to hit and sit 3 on his last and force to a single. Now, this one seemed to be more bad luck, a spot that curled more, but in that case, that was more of an execution thing than a strategy thing. I think that their strategy was sound. They had it set up, weren't able to execute at the end. Then they just sort of had everything catch up with them in the 10th, where Brett Gallant made a pretty amazing shot, like a triple run, double.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Triple.
It was it was bonkos. Like, you can't defend against it.
Well, I mean, it was a nose hit, so like you could put the rocks in a different.
But he had to throw it. You have to be able to throw it so hard, and anything slightly off nose. Like, everyone says, "Oh, nose hit, it's easy." A nose hit is easy with like board weight, in that you don't have to hit it square on the nose to not roll at all. Yeah. But when he's throwing parking lot weight, and the shooter didn't roll, like he got it perfectly square on the nose, and those are 2 round objects that he's doing that with at that speed. That's incredible. There's not a lot of people in the world who can do that with any level of consistency.
True, but one of them was on the other team. So like, so anyway, it was a really fascinating game. This Quebec team, has been really fun to watch this week. Maybe a little bit of a strategy hiccup, but I see your point too. That no, it was just what they were feeling at the time. It didn't work out. So maybe my thought is a bit results oriented. Overall, it's been fun. I do hope we end up with a tiebreaker, because Sean, I picked them to make the playoffs. If you
did,
remember.
It's true.
Yeah,
maybe that's why you were so upset about it. If he makes the shot to win the game, you look great.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that was all my feeling. But no, I wasn't able to watch this morning, and I logged in just to look at the score, and I saw when it was 6-3. I went, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. And then I checked again after lunch and was like, oh, they lost? What the heck happened? So I wanted to go back and watch today. So that's the game I really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we should note too, though, Brendan Botcher has played the last 3 mornings and gave up a 4 to Thomas Scoffin, but won the game, gave up a 4 to Scott Jones, but won the game, and then struggled this morning against Felix Asselin. So he has not been good, particularly in the first half of morning games. So anything that has taken place before 10:30 Eastern time, say, they have not been particularly good. Now, because it's an Eastern time Brier, though, none of the playoff games are going to start before noon Eastern time. So
That's
Brendan Botcher, I guess he just didn't get his body into Eastern time. Maybe he's still in the Mountain time zone. He's starting these games at 7:00 on the body clock. I don't know, but no worries there. No morning draws on the weekend.
Yes, no more mornings for Team Botcher. They don't have to worry about that. And yeah, maybe they still are on Mountain Time. No big deal. There's a song called "On Mountain Time."
Oh yeah,
Clay Cook, I think. Anyway, Look it up. It's not bad.
Okay, good stuff. All right, let's see. As we were speaking here, the couple games have gone final here. Quebec has beaten New Brunswick. That is done. Jacques Gauthier caps off his week with a win over Tyler Smith, and Gushu beats Scoffin 8-3. So those games are all final as we speak. I don't know, Scott. There's been a trend here. Down 5 with hammer, 2 to play. People shaking. I don't know if I like that. I in that scenario, you can make it so the other skip has to throw his last. I think it's worth another end, but
yeah, but maybe if you're Thomas Scoffin and you're, we won 2 games this week. I'm good with that. Time to pack it in.
Okay. There's just been a few shakes that I've been maybe you could have kept going. But anyway, let's tee up the playoffs here a little bit. And Scott, the top 4. So I did a hit on the CBC Calgary morning show, the eye opener last Friday, the opening day of the Brier, and they said we talked about some things, not necessarily related to the Brier itself. They said, "Hey, tee it up. What do you think?" And I said, "Well, basically what we said on the show. There's 4 teams that are at the top, and everybody's going to be looking up at them. In all likelihood, those teams have clinched first and second place in their respective divisions. They have only lost to each other as well, with the exception of Brad Gushu having lost a game to Mike McEwen, which really not going too far outside of the top level there in terms of losses. So for those 4 teams, you have a combined 3 losses between them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think tomorrow afternoon, Tanner Horgan or probably Mike McEwen, but maybe Felix Asselin, we still don't know the result of that game as we speak, can knock off one of those top 2 teams? Or is it kind of just predestined that the 4 we expected are the 4?
I mean, it's going to be hard for either of them to do that. It wouldn't surprise me, right? Like we saw at the Scotties, Rachel Homan lost in that crossover game. So in one game, anything can happen. Tanner Horgan and Team Northern Ontario, they're playing really well. He didn't have a particularly good game this afternoon.
He did not.
But maybe they've got that out of their system. So is it possible? Is it probable? No, especially with it being Botcher, whose team is really, really good, curling robots, as we talked about. But yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I don't think it's probable, though. I think the highest probability is we have those 4 teams we talked about on the show in the playoffs come Saturday.
Yes. So obviously the rankings will be determined by the Friday Fun Fest tomorrow night. And then we'll see who is who in the 1-2 or the 3-4 game. Out of those top 4, and again, not conceding the 4 spots to them necessarily, but out of those top 4, this is weird to say, again, 3 losses between the 4 teams. Mm-hmm. None of them have really been firing on all cylinders as we have seen them before. Matt Dunstone, I can't remember what game. He was a feature game earlier this week. Actually, it must have been against Reed Carruthers, where he was heavy on a few draws. He missed a couple run backs. Like they weren't fully sharp in that game. I think they really did benefit from Reed making that call and almost giving too much respect in that moment to Matt Dunstone. Brad Gushu, they really struggled that first weekend. We haven't seen much of them since the first weekend, since the weekend, I should say. They haven't gotten too much TV time. Kevin Cooey has looked off. They were playing, was it this morning or yesterday morning, where Kevin Cooey was visibly frustrated at some points. His game against his brother this afternoon pulled away towards the end, but a couple uncharacteristic steals that he's given up over the course of the week. So you can't feel super duper confident in them either. And then with Botcher, as we talked about those struggles, now they have been largely focused then in on the morning draw. And the game he lost to Gushu, he was coming off a back-to-back or was playing a back-to-back. Gushu was not. So maybe a little bit fatigue at the end of 6 hours of curling in there. But again, nobody has really, despite the records, played wall-to-wall exceptional curling the way that we have seen from them. And part of that could be a lot of teams have struggled with the ice. It seems very release sensitive, which I like. That really puts a lot on the thrower as opposed to necessarily the sweepers. So you got to have clean releases, consistent releases with the right weight. I like that. It, I think, allows the best teams to emerge over the course of the week, which clearly it has. It's just they're doing it in a way where we're seeing a few more misses than we might be accustomed to. So assuming you agree with that, how do you forecast potentially the weekend? And can we expect any of these teams to fully get on one of those type of runs that we've seen from each one of them at some point over the past few years?
I think we will. And I think the biggest contender for that is Brad Gushu, because they've done it all together, mostly as a team, right? The other teams are all new. Their first years playing together. And I think the advantage to Team Gushu of having been together makes them the most likely to string something together here. EJ coming in is also a guy who's got a gold medal around his neck too. So, you know, these guys have been there and done that and seem to be the best position to sort it out. Kevin Cooey looks like he doesn't look like he's having any fun with his new team. He's going like, a lot. And that's, you know, him getting used to his team and his team getting used to him, right?
Yeah, we're seeing the growing pains a little bit in real time.
Yeah,
with them.
With Matt Dunstone, I believe it was the game against Nova Scotia and Matt Manuel, and he was feeling like Matt Manuel made like a triple on a weird tick and sort of pumped the crowd up, and Dunstone got mad about it, like a bit. So I think Kingsbury there on the bench really helped him get it focused by the end of the game, but it did take an end or two.
Right.
Kathy Gauthier pointed that out too, that he didn't seem to get over that quick enough. And then the team botcher, like you said, it's the daytime. They're playing. It won't be the morning. They'll be fine. So that's sort of how I see the weekend, is that Gushu 1, Botcher 2, Dunstone 3, and Cooey 4.
It's interesting to think of the new Cooey team because they're all really quiet guys, right? None of them are super outspoken. So I do wonder if that's just a case of things translating on TV in a way that is different from what is actually going on. Because let's be honest, Kevin Cooey has never been the most outwardly energetic player on the ice. And I think it's fair to say he's had some success doing so through the course of his career. So, and he would get frustrated with Ben Heber sometimes too, right? Where he would let it go and Ben would start pounding. He'd be like, Ben, stop. Like, and so, I mean, that did happen for him back with the old team too. I think of whatever frustration that Kevin is having is more to do with him not having a full sense of control over the ice, again, the way he normally does. They've struggled with pass. I don't know how, because you wouldn't think he played with Kennedy for so long that having a lefty as part of the throwing third would really be an issue. I mean, it can be. You're kicking out from a different spot. Your rotations, your clockwise, counterclockwise, are going to react slightly differently because it's a different turn for each of you.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly you would expect Tyler to be throwing differently than how Kevin throws, and just getting used to that on ice that, again, seems more release sensitive than what we've seen at any of the slams so far this year. So you just wonder how much of all of that just sort of plays into a frustration with not getting the results that he wants. And, Dunstone, we've seen him get frustrated in other events in the past. Yeah, I agree with you. The Kingsbury is a good addition there. I just mentioned Ben Hebert. Kennedy said to him during a shot, I think it was today, after he let it go, he just said, "Be patient, Ben." Just be patient. So, I mean, those two guys obviously know how to communicate with each other. Brett Gallant seems to have fit in really well with that team as well. And again, it's just a case of the misses that we've seen from them you would expect to go away, but you expect to go away for all four of the teams. I don't know if I fully agree with you on Gushu, mostly because of the article this week that Gregory Strong had where Gushu's beat up a little bit, where physically he's not feeling great. Now, they had the day off yesterday, which fortuitous for them to get the full day off at Wednesday, middle of the week. They were kind of set in the playoffs by that point. So I don't know if he can sustain if he's not feeling at the top of his game. So I picked Dunstone at the end of the or at the start of the week, and I am not going to deviate from that heading into the playoffs. I also wonder, though, going into this, again, given how much talk there has been about the ice, both in terms of the larger drops they're using for the pebble, the way it is so release sensitive, how does going to one sheet affect it? How is this going to affect the way it's going to play? And potentially we're going to have bigger crowds again. It's going to be a little warmer in London. This will be something to watch. And whoever picks it up first, you just expect them to win.
Yeah, which is a part of the reason I think that the team that's been together the longest has a slight advantage in being able to pick up things with the ice and the releases.
Right. I'll have to see. It should be a fun weekend. A couple little notes from the week so far. Sometimes I complain a little bit, Scott, about that the men's events aren't as much fun. That there are times where I feel like the players can get a little bit whiny about things on the men's side. That it hasn't seemed that whiny this week, I have to say, and so I'm pleased about that. We've already mentioned Jeremy Millay. Underrated star of the week, no question about it,
for sure.
For Jeremy Millay. Jake Higgs winning, so cool that moment. Crowd goes nuts, standing ovation. They're thrilled. Everything was great.
They're in first place, Sean.
First place for half a day. That was amazing. Everybody won a game, kind of like that. Everybody got on the board this week. I mentioned Thomas Scoffin. He doubled his win total. That's an improvement. There were moments during the week where Kathy was almost longing for him to not live in Whitehorse, right? Being like, he's so good. If only he didn't live in Whitehorse. If only he would come back south again. But he's got a family there. He obviously likes living there, and he's going to do his thing up there in Whitehorse and probably play in 35 Briers before it's all over. So good for him.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig. He had his little one with him at the event, right? Yeah, that was a cute picture.
Yeah, during the autograph signs, that was pretty cool. The young teams, obviously not the results they would have wanted, as we foresee those tweets coming out tomorrow, but not terrible results. I think BC was fun. They were close on a lot of shots. That first game Friday nights against Brad Gushu could have gone the other way, I think, very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun to see them. Carson Sturmey, they've done better than I thought they would in terms of just winning more games than I might have expected from them. This game tonight that we've seen, the communication between the two teams hasn't been the greatest. I think Fry at one point said there's so much talking going on, and we've seen some comments on the other side of like, oh, why'd we sweep that? Like, but not in ways that are always necessarily constructive. We're just seeing a little frustration come out. But again, it's the end of the week, and you'd expect that.
Well, Sean, Mike McEwen said, Mike McEwen said that was a bad line call under his breath about something Fry did, and then he got down to the other end and Fry said, "This is why I did it." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Now I guess I understand."
Right.
But like, it's not great.
It's not great, but again, end of the week, you see those things from time to time.
Mhm.
So overall, it's been, I think, better than some past years in that regard.
Sure.
As
Sure.
a television viewer, we talked about the no tick rule for the Scotties led to an increase in points of about 1.5 per game. The points here are down versus the Scotties at this point in the event. It was 14.23 after 68 games at the Scotties, 13.57 here. So 3/4 of a point less that we are seeing. I feel though that it feels like a bigger decrease than we had at the Scotties. It just feels like lower scoring.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at the scoring differential, because it does feel to me like there's been a few more blowouts at this event than there were at the women's.
Yeah, like if you look at, say, that opening game, Ontario against Felix Aslan, Ontario scored 13 points, right? Like, and so things seem to be going in that direction. But hey, we'll have to sort of analyze it later. But yeah, so a bit of a point decrease versus the Scotties, and a few more Hulk smashes towards blank ends. So I still, I don't know. Part of me feels like the super entertaining blank end. It's my white whale, Scott.
You're looking for one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure they exist out there in the wild somewhere, but they're like an albatross. They don't come across too often.
Oh, we did see, Sean, this week a blanked 10th end, which led to an 11th end.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the exciting blank end.
I mean, I guess the last shot is.
Well, it was a double. He was trying to make a double, right?
It's just so surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah. So all in all, it's been a pretty fun week there in London, even if it has been a little bit chalky, but that just means that the playoffs are that much more unpredictable. So again, the seeding games, the elimination seeding games, or whatever they're called, go tomorrow, 1:00 Eastern time, not 2, 1:00. Yes. Check your calendars. And then the Friday Fun Fest at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Playoffs, I believe, 1 and 7 Saturday, noon and 7 on Sunday.
You are correct. Yes.
That should be a lot of fun. We'll be back with you on Monday or Tuesday for a full recap of the Brier. And then at some point we will tee up the Women's World Championship, which kicks off next Saturday in Sweden. Scott, what town in Sweden is the Women's World Championship being played in?
Sandviken, Sweden.
Okay, there you go. So the teams will be heading over there shortly to prepare and get things going. So we will talk about all those teams and what to expect there. So if you have not yet, do subscribe wherever you get your podcast, likes, rates, comments, all that stuff helps other people find the show, keeps us growing. Follow along at Game of Stones Pod, Twitter and Instagram, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook. If you want to let us know what you want to hear on the show, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. Scott, there are reasons, though, why everybody should subscribe to all these various things that we have going on. Let's start with the Instagram. We said on the preview we were going to do another giveaway, and then we didn't post the thing to do the giveaway.
Yeah, no, it's been a busy week, Sean, but right when we're done this, I'm going to click send on our next giveaway, another 6x6 print of Elsa Craig by artist Daniel Martin from Scotland. So I'll be doing that right when we send this. And because we were so late, we're going to give out a bonus giveaway. So we'll have two things available. We're going to have the print of Elsa Craig, and we're going to have one of our new Game of Stones toques, Sean, available at gameofstonespod.com.
Yes.
We've got them available in 3 colors. The one I have to give away is a blue.
Nice.
Toque, and it's back there, but I'll take a photo of it, and we'll try to give that away to a lucky fan. We've got a few new products on the store. Go take a look. I ordered some samples. They came in like 3 days. We're not charging shipping. So hopefully we don't lose money on these things too much or lose too much money on these things.
Right.
I'm okay with a little bit, but yeah, we want to push people to the new store. It's on GameOfStonesPod.com. The shipping is easy. You can contact me if you have any questions through the Game of Stones podcast at gmail.com. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun to have the new store up and running. And in the past, we were donating all the proceeds we got, and it was actually much more than what we got out of the deal, to Food Banks Canada and the Sandra Schmirler Foundation. I would be fully upfront about what we're doing now is that the proceeds that we get, which is not everything. So I think the t-shirt is $30. We don't actually get $30 in our coffer. It's a drop shipper. We get a small amount. What we're going to do, we are going to use the proceeds to cover our cost of running the show. That's what we're going to do, because there are some costs in maintaining the site and the RSS feed, all that stuff. It's not a lot, but we are going to use some of that money or whatever money we get to cover the cost of the show. And then anything above the cost of the show, we will then donate to the Sandra Schmirler Foundation. So just to be fully upfront and transparent about it, that is the shift that we are making. So now cover the cost, then on top of that to the Sandra Schmirler Foundation.
Yeah, and we've got some new products there too. So we have hoodies. The toques are new. They've got the curling stone sort of design on them, a little different. I just put a new mug, a ceramic mug on there. We've got an enamel mug too, for those of you that like camping or like drinking your beer out of a mug. They're perfect for that.
Yeah.
And then, if there's products that you want, let us know and we can make them. And what we're thinking of doing too is, if there's some curling thing that sweeps the event, sweeps an event, pun intended, we can like make a limited edition shirt for that. So if there's products that you want, let us know and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, so this new site gives us a little more flexibility in what we can create and colors as well. The t-shirt and the hoodies, you can get in a lot more colors than you could before. So we are excited about this. If you have ordered from us in the past and want to reach out because there's something on there that you want, I think there's a way that we can get it to you at cost if that's something, because we know that there was great expense on like the shipping on the last one. So if you reach out to us, we can try to set something up if you want something new. GameOfStonesPodcast@gmail.com is a little thank you for ordering from us before. If you want to order something, one of the new things out there. So do check it out, GameOfStonesPod.com. Click on the merch tab. Everything is there, ready to go.
Yes, sir.
So with that, we will say thank you so much for listening, everybody. Enjoy the playoffs. We'll be back with you again next week. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.